girl. She was only 19. She was very strong in her religion. Everybody was warning me, be careful, she'll confuse you, you know. So she said, Kathy, can we take your Bible and have a Bible study? And my Bible, a little white Bible with a zipper on it, and I went to Sunday school 13 weeks in a row. I never really opened my Bible, I think one time, and drawed in it, put my name in it and stuff, you know. I like my Bible, but it was just that. It was just a book that I knew was precious. At the age of 23, this girl said, can we get your Bible? So I finally opened it, and we started having Bible study. I was impressed that a 19-year-old's level of knowledge blew my mind. I was like, I can't believe that somebody that young knows that much about the Bible. I'd never talked to anyone that knew the Bible. And I went to church. My uncles, of course, they all knew the Bible. They were preachers. But to talk to someone just like normal person, you know, and I'm like, wow. I mean, just blown away. Yeah. So she then invited me to the church that she went to. It wasn't like we were raised. I was a little confused. And I remember thinking to myself, I remember looking at her when she asked me, said, I'm going to go talk to God about this. I'll let you know. Because I knew this was serious. And I knelt down beside of my bed. This is always emotional. Yeah. My life changed that day, and I've never been the same, never. But I remember when I knelt and I prayed, I said, God, I know what Mama believes, and Papa and Grandma and Grandpa. I know what they believe. I know what my mom and dad believe. I know what everybody else believes. But I said, I need to know your truth above all truth. I said, Lord, I want you. I want to know you. And not because of what somebody else is telling me, but what you're telling me. Will you let me know you? And I could feel Jesus in the room. And my room was full with white. Everything was just, I could just remember everything being white. And he come up behind me and he put his arm, I could feel it on my shoulder, his hand. And I heard him say, in the spirit, it's like it wasn't out loud, but I could hear him say, he said, you're on the right track. He said, you just need to move up and you need to move out. And it was that simple. I come up from that person. The old Kathy died completely. And a lot of people call that sanctification, that God set me apart for the working of the ministry. I was never the same. So to me, I feel almost like the enemy had set a trap to pull me away from the things that I knew was truth. But God, and all of his goodness,
around 16 years old, I started having seizures. Got labeled epileptic because they didn't know what caused it. I had 3 or 4, didn't even know I was having them. I remember waking up one day and Mom and Dad's arms on the couch, and I just had a seizure, and they found me laying in the kitchen floor, or in the living room floor. And then shortly thereafter, I had another one that same night. They rushed me to the hospital. I remember Mom and Dad praying over me, and it was wonderful. You know, I felt loved. I felt secure. They put me on some medicines. They tried some different stuff, and it helped, but I still had issues. One night, Pastor Arnold was preaching at Calvary Temple, and he asked anybody that needed healing or anything, you know, to let him know. And I went up there as a child. I told him, you know, I want to be healed of these seizures. I don't want to deal with this my whole life. And he asked me, he said, Shane, do you believe you can be healed? I was like, yeah, I know God can heal me. He said, no, do you believe you can be healed? He wanted to know if my faith was there to say, yeah, I know God can heal me. I know I can get over this. The strong spiritual leaders of the church come up there. My mom and dad, they all prayed over me. Pastor looked at me and said, now, do you feel like you're healed? I said, I do. He said, do you know you're healed? I was like, yeah, I'm healed. He's like, I want you to know, he's like, I want you to put that all that you know you're healed. I said, yes, absolutely, I'm healed. And then something just came over me that night. I said, yeah, absolutely, I'm healed. I'm healed. Wow. I never had another grandma seizure from that day. From that day forward, I never had another grandma seizure in my life. You want to talk, miracles can happen. Miracles are real.
Hello, everybody. It is Denita and I, Denitra. I'll always say your name wrong. Jonathan and Shane can't be here, unfortunately, but we're going to have a great time tonight. Um, it's going to be different. We got a lot of scripture to go through, kind of just doing a little Bible study. But something big that God kind of put on my heart earlier this week, talking about only problems that God can fix. There's a song by Maverick City. It's called God Problems. And in this song, it breaks it down kind of like this. I'm just going to read first a little bit of it. If you got a God-sized problem that only he can solve them, there's just some problems that only God can fix. And if there will be some moments that just don't make sense, I've seen it happen time and time again, that there's just some problems only God can fix.
So good.
So what you think about that, Denita? Denita. I get lazy saying your name. Mom corrected me on it earlier. She's like, Denita, okay. And I was like, yeah, okay.
It's all good. I love that because nobody is exempt from struggles. You know, it rains on the just and the unjust. Like, it's a part of life that we will face struggles, and sometimes, you know, they're little things, and sometimes they're the God problems, the big things that only God can take care of, that we just have to kind of throw our hands up in faith and be like, you know what, Lord, like, you got to take care of this, because I'm powerless. I can't do it. So I love that.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, I think, majority of people do know a lot of my situations of what's going on in my life and what I'm believing for. But because it does involve my three little ones, I'm not going to talk about it. But with them, there is a God problem that unless he solves it, it ain't going to get solved. And I told you this before, but just to kind of recap, it's like I'll toe the line and try and do everything right all the way, no ands, ifs, or buts, and nothing happens. And then I'll turn around and do everything wrong, kind of just, depressed and disappointed that it's not happening the way I think. And man, I tell you, I've been so desperate that I've asked questions time and time again, like, what do I need to do? I've talked to Mom and John about it over and over again. What do I need to do? How can I do this? And my kids be, blank. But I think listening to the song, I started crying. I'm probably going to cry throughout this podcast at some point because it's so big to me. And I think when you get so desperate, it's a point of desperation that you kind of run into.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know the answer on how God solves only those problems that he can solve, but I do know that he's an on-time God. I know that he'll solve them in his timing. Yeah. Then that it'll only be him that can do it, And you said you had a similar story of that.
Yeah. When I became ill, I lost everything. I joined the military, and that was my lifelong plan. I was going to retire and do XYZ, and I rented the cutest little house in Beckley, and I just bought a new truck. I love trucks, and just that whole life I was building for myself, and it just came crashing down. I mean, I got so severely ill that I couldn't even care for myself. I couldn't, I was bedfast for a long period, and it's really a test of faith that when you're in that position, you're either going to lean on God or you're going to harden your heart. And that's something that I've learned with crisis. It will either drive us into the arms of God, to the arms of the Father, or, to people or works or whatever it may be. So it's not an easy place to be when you're powerless, because we live in a culture where, what can I do? To fix this problem. We're raised to be independent people, and especially the Ratliffs were so hard-headed sometimes. Like, I gotta do this thing and make it right. And we feel that way sometimes, and that's our culture, is to do the thing, to fix the problem, to have the life.
Yeah.
And when we face that crisis, when when you're in faith and you know Jesus, like you come to a point you realize that I have to give it to him, because the more I try, the more I do, I just end up making a mess. And, I went back to work several times. And I remember there was one time when it was just a couple months after my surgery, and I'm like, I have to go back to work. Like, I can't just sit and not do anything, like, because, that's just the way we're wired. And ended up right back in the hospital, and they're like, you're going to have to be here or don't. And I'm like, huh? He's like, you need to be punctual. And I'm like, I'm on time for work all the time. He's like, no, you need to be here. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I just got out of the hospital, and it was just this fight, this struggle, and this fight to do what I'm supposed to do, and that's to work and to make a living and to take care of myself. And finally, I just had to, after so many tries of that and hitting that wall, I just had to be like, okay, Lord, like, I surrender. And just, surrender's hard.
It is.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, we kind of get to this other point of it too, because I don't know about you, but this is where I come to, is that it's like, well, I ain't worthy of that. I'm not worthy of like this grand prize that everything just fits and everything is right. I'm not worthy of that. There's this little Korean dude on TikTok. He's hilarious, and he's going off, and he does these like little skits where it's him and God having this conversation. Like, he's like, God, can you give me patience? And then, like, he's in traffic jam. He's like, okay, God, not this way. Can we do patience a different way? So he does little skits like that. But there was one where he was like, God, I'm so sorry. I keep messing up. I keep doing these things. He's like, hey, listen, I forgive you. He's like, no, you don't understand. Like, I'm really sorry. Like, I keep making this mistake over and over again. He's like,
yeah,
you don't get it. It's paid for. He's like, hold on. Who is this guy? And they're like, that's the Korean model. You made him stubborn, Lord. And I'm like, God's like, oh, okay. Yeah. But that's what it comes down to, is it's not that anything that we have to work for to be worthy of XYZ. And I believe he wants to see consistency, in which I'm not God. I only am just, theorizing here. But I think God likes to see consistency out of us, a heart of compassion.
Yeah.
And for our hearts to truly be walking in the fruits of the Spirit. I think, because Jesus said multiple times, as heaven is on earth, that's how he wants it here. And often, I don't know about you, but I do not view this mess of a world as heaven. And because everywhere I look, it's just chaotic and sin everywhere, and sin in my own life. And like, what is going on? Like, how can Jesus say, let's make it as heaven on earth, but like, we're out here acting like idiots? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
But I think Jonathan, but I think to come down to it, kind of, one of the first ones is the woman at the well. Now, I like this story a lot. This is where Jesus comes up, and I forget. She's from Samaria, and Samaritans and Jews did not get along. Jews really didn't get along with too many people that were different from them, just because the history, they continued to be dominated by everybody and their mama. So, but the woman at the well here, I'm going to start John 4:15, where it says, Jesus came up to her and said, hey, can you pour me some water, or draw from the well, give me some water? And she ends up telling him right here in 15, sir, or the woman saith unto him, sir, give me the water. This is the water that he's talking about, where he goes, giving everlasting life, that you shall never thirst no more. And she says, can I have some of this water? And Jesus said, go ahead and get your husband and come back. And the woman answered, I have no husband. And Jesus said to her, thou hast well said, I have no husband, for thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou hast, and not only thy husband, and thou saidest thou truly. And basically Jesus ends up going to tell her, like, your husband, or the man you're living with now, is not your husband. You've had 5 before him. and basically just throwing all of her crap out there on the table, just like, this is all your stuff that you've ever done. And it's amazing to her. The woman goes back, she runs into town, and Jesus is like, hold up, don't be telling everybody. And she runs back into town, she tells everybody. But Jesus offered her the water that she'll never thirst again, to where she'll never need anything else ever again. And she's like, hold up, like, you're just a great prophet then. Like, that's all you are. And he's like, no, I think you're missing it. I'm the son of the Father. I have the right to give you the everlasting life. Mm-hmm. And that right there just shows we ain't got to work for that worthiness. We don't have to be worthy. It's a aha moment for me, you know, to have this one with the well. And Jesus didn't do anything. He didn't heal her. He just told her that, hey, like, come unto me and you'll have everlasting life. And I think the biggest miracle to her there was, oh, wow, he knows all my stuff and he ain't judging me for it.
Yes. Yes.
You know?
We were talking before, you know, a little bit about this, and you know, talking about the woman caught in adultery. And I was telling you how, you know, he says, go and sin no more, you know, because he didn't condemn her. But there's a translation or something that says, there's nothing in me that condemns you. And when I heard that, like, there's nothing in him that condemns us. And it doesn't seem possible sometimes, because our view of ourselves, like, we look at ourselves as if we should be condemned. Because, I mean, in reality, we should. Because right, he's the only one that's good. But just knowing that he does not condemn us. Like, you know, you have 5 husbands, and even the one that you're living with now, he's not even your husband. Like, and he wasn't doing that to, like, throw it in her face and shame her, but to say, listen, I know the truth about you, and I still love you. I still want to give you this living water, you know. And I've thought about, you know, how they say that there's a power encounter, a love encounter, and a truth encounter, right? You know, we experience the power of God and, you know, the Holy Ghost, and, you know, you're just shaking all over, or whatever the case may be. And then, you know, there's the love encounter where you just, you know, weep because you feel the Father's heart. And then, but this is a truth encounter. That's all that was required, because he is truth. He's the Spirit of truth. But, you know, sometimes we just need the truth. You know, he gave her the truth in love. And that's, you know, I love Shane's whole ministry, because that's, you know, the truth in love. But I love that. It was just truth. She seen the truth. And that was all that was required to change, not just herself. It didn't just change her. It changed a whole city. You know, she went back and, you know, preached the gospel. This woman preached the gospel to her sphere of influence, and they will change all by truth, just truth.
Through truth and the grace and the mercy of God that we'll never be worthy of. We'll never be worthy of it.
Never.
I mean, if you want to break it down to an earthly sense, like, I'll never be worth my mama's love. I've messed up so many times beyond what, and she's been so mad at me, smacked me in the mouth and everything else. But I would never be, there's nothing I could do to earn that love from my mom or my dad.
Yeah.
It's just there. My kids can never earn my love. Bless their little crazy ignorant hearts. But there's nothing you can do to earn my love. When they came out of their mother's womb, I was just like, I'm a dad. And it was, you know, tears from there on. But that's the same sense, but it's like intensified times a million of his love, you know. Torrin Wells sings a song called Crazy About You, and talks about how God is crazy about you. I'm going to cry. Oh, my goodness. Because I think I was riding in the car, me and my girls were going to the beach, and I put that song on. And I started thinking, man, every day I think about my daughter so much. And every day I talk about them to at least somebody, whoever will listen, really. And then I started talking to them. I started telling them, I was like, guys, like, you don't understand. Like, I'm crazy about you but it does not compare to how crazy he is about you. And, it's like, wow. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's move on here so I quit crying. So then the next one, that I like to talk about is the one with the issue of blood. I love the story so much because she had a God problem that only God could fix. She'd been with this issue for the last, I think it was like the last 12 or 13 years.
Yeah.
And, and Chosen, I love how Chosen depicts this because she kind of gets up to one of the disciples and be like, "Where's your master? Like, I need help. Where's your master?" And they're like, "Hey, don't." The rabbi's like, "Don't mess with her. She's unclean. Don't mess with her." And she's like, and I could hear this. She had to have had a little bit of rattling in her because she's like, "You know what? Forget these people. I'm going to go get my healing." And she pushed beyond what everybody said, through the crowd, through everything else, through the embarrassment. And it was that sense of desperation that she just was, if I could just touch him, just touch the hem of his garment. And in Chosen, they depict that she touched the tassel on just the tassel. Come on, man. Yeah. Anyhow, and she pushes through because she's so desperate to get that God problem fixed, and there was no other answer. That was it. That was the only answer. And Jesus said, "Who touched me? Who touched me?" No, some power left me here. Somebody's desperation pressed through and didn't take no for an answer. Who touched me? And you could see, this is another great point here, because you could see her like stammering back in the show Chosen, like, "Hold up, it was me. I didn't touch you. I just touched your garment." Like, she's like, "I know I ain't worthy. I know I ain't worthy. And I'm sorry, I am unclean." And he's like, No, you've been healed. And it was your faith. It was your desperation.
Yes.
I think that we get to that point of desperation where God meets us. We have to get so desperate that it doesn't matter what else there is in this world. It doesn't matter the distractions. It doesn't matter. This is it. This is the only thing that matters. I think you're probably a lot like this too. When there's a mission at hand, that mission is the only thing that matters. I gotta complete this mission. Now, if you're telling me that I gotta complete this mission over the next 20 years, I'm probably going to get distracted, and I do. But if I could do it now in the next 30 minutes, I'm going to do it. But I think that story there, just everybody knows her issues. Everybody. She's been marked as, "You're just disgusting." Mm-hmm. And maybe it's got to come to that point.
They don't even name her. They name her by her issue.
Oh,
man.
Yes. And that's the thing that I can't, for one of my biggest pet peeves is identifying as your issue.
Yeah.
I did it forever. Did it forever. And I finally, and it's like, and through my journey, I could see God saying, "Here's a win, here's a win, here's a win." But I still identified as my daggone issue. And it's like, hold on, why am I continuously bringing this up? When I could sit here and hear God say, hey, I already paid for this. It's done. It's finished. And it took forever, and I still do that. Not even realizing it,
Yeah,
I still do it.
The strongholds that are in our mind. They were talking about that today, at church, about the strongholds, and we can go through healing and deliverance or whatever it is, but if we don't break that lie, a stronghold is a lie that has taken a strong hold in our mind, and we build our identity around that. For 10 years. Like, I feel like that woman with the issue of blood sometimes, because I'm like, okay, Lord, like, when is it over? Like, when is it over? But, even if it's not, And I know it's the Lord's will to heal me. I know that's his will, but we still have to press in. We still have to press through the crowd, and we can't let our issues and, our view of ourselves, we have to be rooted and grounded in our identity so strong that when we're faced with these hardships and these crises, that we're not swayed. We stand on that solid rock.
Yeah. I think I tell you, I wish that somebody would have told me like, "Hey, listen, Joel, you're going to have a lot of horrible things happen to you in this life. This life sucks." Like, I wish somebody would have said that.
Yes.
Because it's like I go through one storm and I survive. I'm like, "Whew, that was close." All right, thanks, God. And then I'll go through another storm and I'm like, "Okay, that one nicked me. Hold on." And then, then I'll be like, "Okay, I'm on top of the world." Oh, there goes the world, and it always happens. It's a never ending cycle of battles. But like you mentioned in the beginning of the podcast series, that it rains on the just and the unjust. Storms are going to continue to come through the rest of our life. If this major, and to me, and if you would have asked me 6 miracles ago, I probably would have said the same thing about these. But if you was to ask me about this miracle here, and this miracle was to happen in the way that I selfishly want it to, then I would sit here and be like, "That's it. I win. I'm done. I have nothing else to do." And then there's going to be the next storm and the next storm. And I think there's a pastor's one night I was having a really, really rough night. It was after everything had kind of took me out as far as going through the divorce and with the kids and adjusting all that. And I remember thinking, like it was yesterday, you know what? Like, if I can't have my life this way, the way that I want it, what's the point? I don't want to live this life like that. Yeah. And there was a pastor at Rama, his name is Pastor Bill. And he was talking about the storms in life. And he was talking about how the storms will continue to come. And when you're not having a storm, that's when you lift others up. And that's when you encourage others. And that's whenever you found yourself in the Word. And you tie all your lifeboats back up. And you tie everything back up that one storm just wrecked. And he said, you prepare for the next one because it's coming. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about that the other day. Like, man, it seems like each time. And I still remember like the whole ordeal. I remember going into my lawyer's office with Kristen, being beaten down and broken. I was done. I was like, if I get one more piece of bad news, I'm going to go find a bridge. I can't do this. I walked in. I got good news at the lawyer's office. And me and Kristen went out to the truck and we were blasting music and dancing and acting silly. And I remember just crying and being like, Kristen, like, how do I do this? Like this is a win. And you count even the smallest things as a win. Even if you find 25 cents on the ground, that's a win. Yeah. And I think through that storm, that song, I'll praise you through the storm. That song there's power to that, to continuously praise God through all the mess. And it's not like I mentioned it purposefully to say the way that I selfishly want it to come out, because there's a way that I want my miracle to come, and it probably won't be that way, but I want it to, and because I think I know best, I'm the smartest person in the world.
Right. Me too. I am too.
But I think God just loves to see that we're going to stay steadfast. We'll stay on the straight and narrow. And you're right. It's about breaking through those strongholds. Like I think about the paralyzed man, who was sitting at the pool. It says that he sat there, I think it says for like 38 years or something. I'm only 32, and I couldn't imagine sitting at a pool for 38 years just waiting for an angel to stir it and everybody continuously beat me. I'd be cheating at that point. Like I'd be like tying people's shoes together and stuff. Um, so, yeah, it says that he was here, struck with his infirmity by the pool of Bethesda for 38 years. And when Jesus saw him lying there, he knew that he'd been lying there for a long time. And he basically asked him, do you want to be made whole? In verse 7 here, John chapter 5, verse 7, the impotent man answered him, Sir, I have no man when the water is troubled to put me into the pool. But while I'm coming, another step down before me. And Jesus said to him, Rise and take up thy bed and walk. And the man immediately just was whole, took up his bed and walked. And on the same day was the Sabbath. So they threw that in there to show that where Jesus healed somebody on the Sabbath and how it ticked off the Pharisees. But the man, I think about this pool. What was this pool doing? Okay, first of all, I want to hear some of your perspective on that. What was this pool doing? Was it an angel, or was it just their faith being met? Because at one time something had happened, somebody did get healed. What's the pool about? Let's talk about that real quick.
I mean, it says, For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. Whosoever then, after the troubling of the water, stepped in, was made whole of whatsoever disease he had. So, I mean, it definitely was an angel. There was a season there that the water was troubled. So, I mean...
So there was something going on there.
Definitely of God, because I've wondered about this too. Like, okay, what's with the pool? Why is it only this one season? But I mean, we know that for everything there's a season, right? So maybe it kind of speaks to that there are certain seasons where healing is going to come, where things may be easier, but then there's also seasons where it may feel like it's right there. Like, that's kind of how I feel right now, because like I have good days and then I'm like, okay, like I can do this and like, let me just put my life back together. And then it feels like it's right there. And then everything crashes. And I'm like, okay, it's not, I kind of, again, feel like that man, so, I mean, that's kind of how I see it. It was, a certain season. So,
yeah. I could see that. I think too. I like to think of it because I mean it has to be where faith is met, because he's going to meet us where we are. He's not going to throw us out there in the middle and just like expect us to swim. He's going to meet us with our floaties on.
That's good. I like that.
but with the dude, like it doesn't say that there's like any conversation between verse 8 and verse 9 where it says Jesus told him, Rise, take up your bed and walk. And the dude immediately was made whole, and he just took up his bed and just took off walking. I'm sorry, but if you was to tell me, Joel, go do XYZ and this is your miracle's met, I'd be like, I got some questions first. Let's talk about this. Hold up. Am I going to get in trouble first of all? But the dude, but that only shows my disbelief. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when somebody does something nice for you, and you're like, "What? No, you're good, man. Don't pay for my food. Don't pay for my food. I got it. I can get it. And they're like, no, I got it. And you're like, why do you got it? Why are you paying for my food? That's
what
these
I
are
owe you. In
right,
return,
yes.
Like there's a catch. Like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like what's the catch here? Because
That's it.
It doesn't work that way. Like it doesn't work that way in this world things to just happen that way. But
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's what Jesus does. So
I think I've been talking to a friend of mine recently and kind of talking about that. Just kind of talking about there's no payment needed. It's just free. There's nothing that you can do to achieve it. There's nothing I could do to achieve it. It's just free. It's just you just believe in your heart that he died upon that cross. Romans 9:10 and 9 9, 10, and 10. Romans 9, verse 9.
8, 9,
8,
yes.
8, 9, 10. There we go. Okay. I was not gonna quit until I got it right. But yeah, it's nothing. There's nothing that you can do.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we as humans have our stumble, because there has to be something. There has to be something.
Myself, like I can do this. I'm independent. Like I'm strong. Like I can take care of myself. So when it's something that we can't do, we can't save ourselves. We can't pay our own ransom. That's here in Easter. That's something the Lord was showing me. I think I'd heard something, whatever it was, but just seeing the picture of someone being kidnapped and they can't save themselves. They can't pay their own ransom. Someone has to pay that ransom for them.
Yeah.
I can't pay my own ransom. There's nothing I can do. I can work myself in the ground, but it's, and we should have good works, but it's not by works. There's nothing you can physically do to, except receive.
That's the biggest part. That's the hardest part. Is just accepting it.
Yep.
A lot of times I have issues of struggling why people do what they do, to figure out the why of what they do. And I will be sitting there and be like, okay, why do they do that? I was sitting at the red light. Guy just flies up on me, slams on his brake, and starts laying on his horn. The light is red. I can't go nowhere. Why are you doing this? But the why will trip me up more than anything. And with God, there is no why. It's just because, I've been guilty of.
That's it.
Yeah, I've been guilty of doing this as a dad, and even though they say this is horrible parenting, I tell my kids to do something, I'll be like, because I said so, do it. And I think with God, a lot of it's that way, because we don't really get an answer sometimes, God, why did she have to wait 12 years with the issue of blood?
Yeah.
Yeah, in which I understand the history of it coming down, that Jesus wasn't, didn't release the Holy Spirit yet to come live with this, to where we have healing that's just given to us now on a daily.
Yeah.
But God still did things. He still did miracles. So why did she have to wait 12 years? You know what I mean? Like, get those questions. And he's like, well, through the 12 years, I've taught her discipline, perseverance, and desperation. And it's like, wow, okay. Touche. Now, I don't know that that's what he's saying, but
and you appreciate those things. Like,
yeah.
I mean, how can we really appreciate joy without hardship? Because then it's just the norm. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, not something. God is an extravagant God, and He wants to give us these extravagant things. But like, how can we see them as extravagant if we don't see the other side? The thing that's not extravagant. Like we have to have something to compare it to. That contrast, and how can we appreciate joy without the hardship?
Yeah, I agree. And this is where I think we come to with David and Goliath. I love the story of David and Goliath. David, before becoming king, was, in all rights and purposes, perfect. We don't hear David doing one bad thing at that time. He was a shepherd boy who fought off lions and bears and tigers. Oh my! And he, comes up to where all the Israelites are scared of Goliath. Now, I didn't know this at the time, for a long time, really, except for like maybe the last couple of years I just learned this, where it talks about David grabbed 5 stones. Goliath had 4 brothers. It's just
good. I don't know if I've heard that.
Yeah, I haven't either, but he had 4 brothers, and historically, they say that they were present there. And so David grabbed 5 stones. Now, if it was me, I would grab probably about 10 stones. But just in case you miss.
Yeah.
But, David goes through this where David was like, I've killed a lion, I've killed a bear, protected my sheep, I ain't had no armor on. Tells him he can't fight in his armor. And then, let's see here. We can start, I think it was 37, so I got to write it down here. David said moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion, now the paw of the bear, he'll deliver me out of the hand of the Philistine. And Saul said, go, and the Lord will be with you. That's kind of like one of those Star Wars lines, like, force be with you, dude. But, then we jump down here to 47. And this assembly shall know that the Lord saves not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. And it came to pass when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, and David hasted and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. David put his hand in his bag and took a stone and slung it and hit the Philistine in the forehead. And the stone sunk into his forehead and fell upon his face to the earth. David, mind you, okay, so they estimate that Goliath is about 9'6", and David was approximately about like 5'2", maybe. And dude is 4 foot taller.
Jeez.
I'm not trying to fight a dude that is like 8 inches taller.
Yeah.
But let's see here. Can you find that right there where David just gets bold with him though?
Oh,
I think I definitely missed it.
Like, why hasn't anyone killed this man? Like, you just want to let him sit there and like mock our God.
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, 28. His oldest brother.
Wise came down hither. I know the pride and the naughtiness of thine heart, for thou art come down that thou mightest see the battle. David said, what have I done? What have I now done? Is there not a cause? And he turned from them toward and spake the same manner. The people answered him again after the former manner. When the words were heard with which David spoke, they rehearsed them before Saul, and he sent before him. David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight this Philistine. Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. And David said to Saul, thy servant kept his father's sheep, and came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock, and I went after him, and smote him. When he arose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him. So, David has...
Down to 45. When he's are you talking about when he's talking to Goliath?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. You said 45?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then David said to the Philistine, thou comest with sword and spear and with shield, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. Yeah. And this day will the Lord deliver thee into my hand, and I will smite thee and take thine head from thee, and I will give the carcass of the host of the Philistines this day into the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. Wow, that's powerful. Mm. That's Godfidence, as they'll say.
Yeah.
Golly. To run up and start talking smack to a dude that's 9'6". My goodness. But that faith, though, but it's because he had that Hebrews 11 moment. Even though going back and reading 28 to 33 there, he had Hebrews 11 moment. He's like, hold up, listen. There was this lion I killed. The only reason I killed him was because I had God with me. There's this bear that I killed. The only reason I killed him was because God was with me. The only reason I'm going to kill this Philistine is because God's with me. the amount of confidence. I mean, that's what I was saying. Like, if I could think back 6 miracles ago, and I was just, if I could just survive this one, I'll be good. And I've said it multiple times, and then another one hits me. And I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to survive this one. I think it's important to go back to these Hebrews 11 moments, to where we understand that our house is not built on sand. Our foundation ain't. Our foundation's built on the rock. And that's why, Romans 12:2, it tells us to get in there and renew our minds, because we have to correct our way of thinking. There was no doubt in David's mind whenever he met Saul that, hey, I'm going to kill this Philistine. Y'all been jacking around with him too much. Like, I'm about to go take this dude out. And there was no pausing like, maybe I shouldn't do this. It was, I'm going to do this, and there ain't nothing you can do that's going to stop me, because I know who sent me. And,
Yes.
I think we forget about who sent us. I think we forget that. Because, like you said, I mean, I know for me, it comes back to me. What can I do to achieve this? What do I got to do X, Y, Z? It's not that way.
And you're talking about looking back at, the previous battles, and, he's like, I've, overcome this and I've overcome that. And we have to look over our life and remember, we have to remember, our whole hall of faith, Hebrews 11, that's the hall of faith, they call it. But, what is our hall of faith? What has the Lord brought me through that strengthened my faith? And, we forget. We so easily forget what the Lord has already done. And, sometimes I have to go back and like look at dreams or, prophetic words or, even trials in my life. And, I'm like, oh, that came to pass. Oh, the Lord worked that out, and then it strengthens my faith to get me through this season, and we have to remind ourselves, like you said, Romans 12:2, be not conformed to the world. We have to renew our mind every single day, to break those strongholds down and remember who God is, the God of Israel. Like, he's the one who defeated Goliath and, defeats every battle, and he overcomes for us. So we have to remember.
I like that one song too. That makes me think of that one song where it talks about he's fighting battles that I don't even see. What is that song? I don't know. But I think about that often because there's so many things in my life that I'm sure that he's fighting for me on my behalf that I can't see. Like I always hear this, and I've thought about this here recently, living in Florida among all the elderly who can't drive. And there's all these wrecks here often, every day. It never fails. 75 North. There will be a wreck at about 3 o'clock every day.
Oh, man.
But I was going out to this place called Arcadia, which is about an hour from me, to go work on somebody's system. And it took me like way down south and all the way back up north. I was like, why in the world did the GPS just take me like 30 minutes out of my way? Like, was there a wreck? Like, I was trying to piece this together. Sure enough, there was a wreck. But the wreck wouldn't have been on the map at the time that I took off. The wreck just happened. But if I would have went the other way, it would have almost been perfect timing for me to be involved in that wreck.
Wow.
And like, it was like maybe a 10-minute difference. And like, so I asked them, is everybody okay? Like, we got to call the cops. They're on their way. I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'm just going to sit in my vehicle then. And I asked them, I was like, how long did this happen? It was like about 10 minutes ago. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to take it that it took me way out of my way just for me to avoid that, and that was God. I tell you, I've driven that way 1,000 other times, and that's the only time it ever took me out of my way.
Wow.
So
it's like the guy that ran up on you and like slammed on his brakes. It's like he may not even realize like the Lord was saving him from something.
Right. Yeah, seriously, because it's just one of those things, though, that we count all this as an inconvenience. I'm sure David counted the lion trying to come and take one of the sheep as an inconvenience, or the bear coming along as an inconvenience. But he turned around and was like, you know what? No, like, I conquered that. and that's what I'm going to use for experience that I'm going to conquer this giant. And I think back to where Jesus says that we have faith as small as a mustard seed that we'll be able to cast that mountain to the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't cast any mountain into any ocean. So if my faith, like if whoever has not seen a mustard seed, you surely have seen like a sunflower seed, how small those are. I'll cut that in half. That's about how small a mustard seed is. Do you have one?
I think so, because Kurt preached a message. It might be in my other Bible. Kurt preached a message and gave us a mustard seed, and I've always
Yes. Yep, I have mine somewhere. I don't know. It's in a little jar. But yeah, if you could think of a sunflower seed and then cut that sunflower seed in half, that's almost the size of a mustard seed. And it says if we just have faith just as big as that. And I'm so guilty of this, of saying, oh, God's got it. God's got. I don't have to worry about it. God's got it. But in reality, do I really believe that? Do I really believe that God's got it? I don't know. You know, I'm just in churchanese.
Yes. Yeah, the Christianese. Yes.
That's it. Yes.
Oh, it's in the Lord's hands. Well, sometimes He also requires us to do something too. You know, like while we're waiting, you know, we got to have faith that He's taking care of it, but then we still got to move forward. You know.
That's it. Well, do you have anything on your heart?
Let me see here. So 2 Corinthians, let me just go over this really quick because
go ahead.
You know, it's very easy to look like the world, and we're not called to look like the world. And especially and going through these things, and let me see, 2 Corinthians 4:16. Okay, that's not the one I was looking at, but it's fine. It's a good one too. It's highlighted. We'll go with it. So, for which cause we faint not, but though our outward man perish, the inward man is renewed day by day. For our light affliction or trouble, which is but for a moment, works for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory, while we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporary, but the things which are not seen are eternal. So even when we're going through these trials, you know, our inward man is being renewed day by day, you know, in spite of the struggles and in spite of the affliction, and which, you know, I know this is talking about, you know, persecution and, you know, in the early church, but, you know, we still go through stuff. We may not be going through persecution yet. It's coming one day, but, you know, it's a light affliction. It says for our light affliction. It's a light affliction, you know, and sometimes these things, they feel like a mountain. They feel like Mount Kilimanjaro, I guess, you know, like Mount Fuji, like the biggest mountain. It feels ginormous. But it's a light affliction compared to the eternal weight of glory.
Yeah.
You know, if we can just keep that eternal perspective on our eyes, you know, and focus on the unseen. You know, it says that these things are temporary. They're temporal. Everything around us, it's temporary. It's going to, you know, burn up or, you know, fall away, but it's the eternal perspective. I heard Linda Webb. Do you know Linda Webb?
I think so.
Yeah. So she was speaking at a women's conference, and I guess she struggles with health issues. I didn't know this. She's just such a gracious woman. Like, but she was talking about being sick one day, and she was supposed to go speak to these women, and I think it was like young women. And she didn't think she was going to be able to make it. She's like, I physically cannot go, but I know the Lord has called me to do this. to go, and he's given me a word to go speak and to give hope to these women. And she said, if you girls have to carry me up on stage and let me say what I got to say and then carry me off stage, like that's what I'm going to do. And
Wow.
that, hearing her say that, because there's so many times that I've let my health stop me. I'm like, I can't, like, and Thursday, like the last 3 days have been rough. Like I've been, just in a bad way. But
Yeah.
if I let that stop me, from going to church this morning or ministering or whatever it is, like the enemy will use that thing against me every single time. And he
Yeah.
had, every time I let him use those things against me to keep me from, something as simple as just putting a smile on my face. And it's not being fake, but it's
Yeah.
just, I'm not going to let this light affliction stop me. I'm going to renew my mind, put my faith in Christ, that no matter what comes my way, I have to keep going. I have to keep going. And it's never easy. It's not easy, and we all deal with different things.
Yeah.
Our stories are completely different, but it's still that affliction that tries to weigh us down. And we just have to keep going, because there is an eternal reward, that exceeding an eternal weight of glory,
Yeah.
if we can just keep that heavenly perspective.
I don't think, I don't say this to minimize people's issues, but let's minimize them. In the grand scheme of things, they're
Right?
light. They don't matter. It doesn't. Oh my goodness! Like that's a
Come on.
that's a perspective right there. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh! It is the smallest of smalls, regardless of how troubled your heart is, or how much you hurt,
Yeah.
or whatever it could be. It's the smallest of small.
Yeah.
But it's all from the perspective of God's perspective. Because Doug Jones says it like this about being kingdom minded on a daily basis. If I'm kingdom minded on a daily basis, that massive issue that I'm sitting here saying, only God can fix this. Now, don't get me wrong, only He can. But to me, this thing seems so massive, like you were saying.
Yep.
But in the grand scheme of things, it's so small. It's not even a blip on the map. I've heard people say that. It's not even a blip on the map. This God problem that seems so massive to me in my little puny mind don't matter to God. It matters to God, but it's so small that it don't matter to God, because He's like, I got that. It's like, if I was to go to McDonald's with Tom Brady, and Tom Brady be like, hey, dude, I got your Big Mac today. I'm be like, hey, no, Tom, don't worry about it. Tom's like, dude, listen, I got it. It's not the deal. That's God. That's God right there. I got it. I understand this is big.
Yeah.
But listen, it's not a worry for me. It's not. I got you. And it's that's a perspective right there. That's light. Our light affliction.
And like you said, it's not to minimize our struggles, because I mean, we go through loss and death. Like I lost my career. Like the thing I was building, is my livelihood. Like it was my paycheck. I had to move back in with my mom. Like I lost everything. Like that was significant. It was significant, and I grieved. And there's still times like I have to like just not allow my mind to go there, because it still hurts if I let myself think about it. So it's not to minimize that, but what I've received in place of what I've lost, it does not compare.
No.
And for maybe someone that watches this later, that's watching now, like, well, what are you talking about? Like, you lost everything, but what have you received? Like, if you're in this position, there's a relationship and a closeness that only that desperation, it only comes from being in that place of desperation and experiencing that crisis and seeing God come in and move in your life and provide. I was talking about Elisha and the woman, the widow woman. and he, the Lord did a miracle through him,
Yeah.
and just multiplied the oil. If you haven't read that, I think it's Second Kings. Let me see. Anyway, yeah, 2 Kings 4. Yeah, go read that, because there's times when lack seems massive.
Yeah.
You don't know where the electric bill is going to come from, or I think there was like a $300 medication my insurance wouldn't pay for, and it was paid for. The Lord provided, and and through this period, like when I lost, because I lost my job, everything. My stepdad had got her underground. My brother had got her underground. My mom had gone through horrible surgery, and so literally all at the same time within like this 3-year span, and none of us could work. We were all down. And
That's
it's not,
crazy.
I mean, like, we've always worked, like, we're a working family. We've always worked, and we had nothing, no
Yeah.
way. And there were people that knew our situation, and they would bless us and help us. But like, it was the Lord, like the
Wow.
Lord provided in that place. And it's why I can trust him now
Yeah.
so much. And he's given me a way of provision. I'm taken care of, and he's blessed me. And but if I didn't go through that, I don't know that I would have the faith that I do today, in the
Yeah.
relationship, and just learning. And, I'd always felt the call to preach and to minister, but, would that have happened had I
Yeah.
not gone through this and grown closer to the Lord? So we can't take for granted our struggles. Something
Yeah.
good. God uses all things for the good of those who love him. So no matter
Yeah.
what we go through, he's going to bless it.
I think I think of stories like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, or Daniel's in the lion's den.
Mm-hmm.
God never quenched the fire or never took the lions out. He
That's
never
it.
took that problem away. But what he did was he came through, and they didn't even smell like smoke. The lions never opened their mouth.
I love it.
Come on. God didn't remove the problem. He just made
Yeah.
them walk out of there and didn't smell like the problem.
Yeah.
They didn't become bound by the atmosphere around them.
Come on.
I think we get so, because it's me, that's 100% me, getting bound by the atmosphere around me based off of what my circumstances look like. If I was Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, I'd probably be screaming like a little girl, and all the beard hair would be singed off my face just because God would be like, hey, listen, your faith ain't there, dude. But, like, that's me. I panic. I freak out. I let that fear, like, now, obviously not about little things. Where's my next meal come from? I don't know. God's got that. I've seen that happen time and time again.
Yes.
Where's my car payment coming from? I don't know. God's got it, though. I ain't worried about that every time he's came through.
Yeah.
But hold up. What about my kids? Hold on now. Can I trust you with that? Are you kidding me, Joel? You can trust me with the car, but not your kids. Seriously. You know what I mean? Like, that's the stupidity of where I'm at in my life.
Hey, we're all in the process somewhere.
Yeah. But, man, I think, guys, the biggest thing is understand that regardless of how big your problem is, at the end of the day, God wants what's best for you, and he knows what's best for you.
Yeah.
And the only thing we got to do is stay steadfast, stay hard-nosed, don't give up. My mom really hates tattoos, so I'm just throwing out there just in case mom sees this. But this tattoo here for me is a continuation. I know a lot of times semicolon means suicide awareness and all that, and that's great. Okay. That's whatever you want to do, whatever. Yeah. But for me, it's a continuation. The cross is there because that represents my ministry, about my mouth, about what I talk about, about who I am. Yeah. And that semicolon there tells me to continue. I struggle. I stumble. I'm not perfect at all. I am 100% human. And without God, I'm 100% evil. But it's to continue. You got to continue on. Stay steadfast. Don't become a victim to the lies or the fear that you have. don't bow down to that. Stay strong. Stay prayed up. Read the word. I'm not saying prayed up, just it's Christianese. Pray because you daggone need it. You need it every day to stand on that foundation. You got to have that communication. If I don't have that communication, man, I'm so far off from left field. I'm picking butterflies out of the air. You know, like I'm not even paying attention to what's going on out here.
Yeah.
And so it's just read, get in that relationship, get in that quiet place with him, and let him direct you, tell you how to live this life, tell you how to do this life. I'm speaking to myself here because I need to do more of that is concerning my issue. But guys, if you got anything else, Denita?
No, I'm good. I think that's it. Denisha.
Yeah. I feel better if I purposely pronounce it wrong.
Yeah.
I'm doing it on accident. Then I'm like, crap.
Yeah, now you got Jonathan.
But it's been great. Guys, if you have any, is the email on there?
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Let me throw
the faith. If you guys have any prayer requests, if you have any testimonies whatsoever, send them to us here, please. This email has been very dry lately. So please send them in. Let us know what you're going through. Let us pray for you. And only that, brag on God a little bit. We thought about maybe taking a compiled list of the emails that we've gotten, just maybe having everybody record like a 5-minute video, just talk about what God's done in their life. We'd love to do that. So send them in to us. Tell us your testimonies. Give us something to pray for. We appreciate everything that we do get, but let's flood it. Give us too much to do. Denita, do you got anything else?
Yeah, and if you'd like to sow a seed or give in any way to the podcast, because it does take money to pay the fees and different things for the podcast to keep running. So you can give there at $Faith Chronicles for you.
Yeah, that's it, guys. It's been wonderful. I appreciate it. See you guys later.
Yeah.
Lord,